let's start with the prayers. Sashi Buki Jokshi Meto Tramri Rabin Shi Nyande Gempadi Sange Shindu Mekte Uva Gira Gunangas Shingla Chupashu Idam Let's do them in English too, so Elena knows what to say. Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the fragrant, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind, I make them the prayers of Buddha, and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. And we do the refuge prayer. Sange Churan Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Jinyan Gipe Sunamki Drola Pinshir Sange Dupasho Sange Churan Soki Choknam La Jamshu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Jinyan Gipe Sunamki Drola Pinshir Sange Dupasho Sange Churan Soki Choknamba Jamshu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Jinyan Gipe Sunamki Drola Pinshir Sange Dupasho. In English, I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. So just close your eyes. And be comfortable in a meditative posture. It doesn't really matter this moment whether you lay down or you're seated. What we are looking for though is a nice tall spine. So, feeling rooted through your sit bones. Shoulders are relaxed. And your crown is reaching up. Start to become present. By not worrying about anything that happened before you set foot into this place, and also not worrying about anything that's going to happen later. Just being here, now. Just watching your breath. Just watching your belly rise and fall. And then as you sit here, I'm going to go through those 7 steps that we spoke about last week. 7 steps to bodhicitta. One of the ways, one of the techniques, how we can learn to open up our hearts to all beings and wanting them to be happy. So first we need to recognize that all beings are equal to ourselves. All beings are equal to one another. And one way to think about that is that we are all equal in the sense that we all have suffering and pain, and we all are trying our best to become happy. We all use different ways to try to relieve the pain. Feeling that equanimity for all beings is the preliminary step to this meditation, to these 7 steps. So we move to step number 1, is where we recognize that all living beings have been our mother. At some point, we all have been each other's mother. Every being you see has been your mother. Because we've lived countless of lifetimes. And then we remember the kindness that our mother has given to us. Mothers have been so kind to us because they have brought us here. Without a mother, we wouldn't be here right now. And they suffered to have us, carried us for 9 months, gone through pain during those 9 months, great discomfort, and then horrific pain giving birth to us. Without our mothers, we wouldn't be here right now. And then when we were born, we relied completely on our mothers to keep us alive. We would not have survived if we were just left out in the cold. We need mothers to feed us and clothe us, clean us, care for us. So this will naturally lead to the next step, thinking how we want to repay their kindness. We want them to have no pain. Because of them, we're here. So we want to give our mothers every good thing. So these steps lead to this next step, which is we want to love all beings with the intensity of how a mother would love their only child. And we feel great compassion for all living beings. We want them to be free of suffering. And even if nobody will help you, you will do this. You will do it all yourself, regardless of the difficulty, without being discouraged if nobody helps you. This strong wish, desire, will lead you to the last step, which is achieving this wish, this deep wish to become enlightened for the sake of every living being, to develop this bodhicitta and become a bodhisattva. Sit with that feeling of what it would be like if you would have that deep wish. That deep wish of wanting to help every living being, wanting to free them all from their pain. So that was right away a review of last week. Handy. So Elena, this is class 9 of 10 classes of this course. So, like I said, don't worry about, it's not an easy class, so don't worry about not understanding or being overwhelmed. Just take in what you can. This course is about 3 principal paths, and we have covered the first 2. So now these last 2 classes, we're on to the last path. So who can tell me what are the first 2 paths?
Renunciation and bodhicitta.
Yes. So the first path is renunciation. And what is renunciation? You could shout it out if you know it.
You're tired of looking for refuge in things that don't give you long-lasting happiness. You're tired of suffering and you want to end the suffering. You want to end that cyclical life.
Yeah.
And let go of striving. Release the
Striving
for
for worldly goals, right? Yeah. We're sick and tired. When you have renunciation, you're sick and tired of the ups and downs of this life. You know, we have good days. We definitely do. But there's always a low just around the corner, you know. There's always pain. So even the good, they say in Buddhism, is suffering because it's always followed by pain. So it's about getting out of that whole cycle altogether of the whole being born, getting old and sick and dying cycle. And when you, Hoga knows this, when do you know when you have achieved renunciation?
When your mind is on it,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, when you are thinking day and night, you want to get out of this shit show. Don't worry, you can make noise. Yeah.
I'm good helping.
Yeah, so that's the first step. And then we have bodhicitta, as Turnjeet said. And what is bodhicitta?
being of service to help others get out of suffering.
So after we decide we want to get out of suffering, we start to look around us and see that everybody else is suffering too. And that's also something we cannot stand and no longer want to see, right? So bodhicitta is that deep wish of wishing we can end the pain of other people. Which bodhicitta is a very powerful practice. And I wanted to give you Definitely. When, I don't know when I received this, but my teacher gave me this some years ago, and he told me, this is the bomb. This is practice this. So put it somewhere where you see it all the time. So you have to put it above your doorway. So where I meditate, my little meditation room above my door. It's been stuck there for some years now. So I wanted to give you all one of these. Actually, I have one too little, so I'll give Turnjeet hers next week. But if you can
Because you're special.
pass one out and put it somewhere if that resonates with you. Put it somewhere where you can see it and think about it. Think about everything we've spoken about so far and what your understanding is of bodhicitta so far, and how that can be like one of the main elements for you to become enlightened. Georgina asked me last week if I have bodhicitta, and I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't care about other people. And spend many hours preparing these classes and stuff. Can it be refined? Yeah, absolutely. And just having a little reminder like that, can help potentially.
When do you know when you have it?
When you know you have, so there's the wish, and then at some point you will have the main realization where your heart cracks open. And then you're official, like a card carrying bodhisattva. Until that time it's more like sugar cane bodhicitta, we call it, right? You fake it till you make it. I do believe that after your heart cracks open, that you can still refine it.
But can't your heart crack open and then, right?
So if you think of it of a yogi perspective, just all the energy comes into the center, right? When you have these experiences, and that will not stay like that until you become enlightened. Then it will. So you have these beautiful heart-opening experiences, and your heart will be more open than it was before. But yeah, until you're enlightened, there's some refining to do.
I think there's also that moment where you begin to see things rather than misbehavior as suffering. A person suffering. So, like as a parent, if you have a child and they're misbehaving, rather than looking, oh, I need to pounce on that misbehavior, it's like they're suffering. Obviously, that's coming from suffering. What can I do to relieve that suffering? I think that's...
So is it, from your experience or from stories of them, is it then once your heart is open, do you not go through more suffering because you feel away from bodhicitta?
Yeah.
Because,
So what happens often is that once your heart, not always, but once your heart cracks open, when you have this experience, shortly after you will have the direct perception of emptiness. Okay. Not necessarily, because I have said that you can see emptiness without having bodhicitta, if you remember. But it's a trippy time afterwards, because you start to really see the suffering and how everybody around you acts out of ignorance and is perpetuating their suffering nonstop. So you feel like an outsider, maybe more so if you already felt a bit like an outsider, it is tough. And you need to get used to all of that. And you need to get used to just being there for people until you can do more.
I always see bodhicitta like loving compassion, feeling that's so deep for for wanting to help. Like it's just such a deep feeling inside that it's almost beyond your being. It's an energy almost of wanting to help that other person or help make those changes. And sometimes it comes back as pain to yourself.
Yeah, it can. I think that can definitely be experienced like that, where you feel, where it hurts because you want to help people so bad, and you always can, right? You can't help people if they're not ready to be helped. You cannot force your ideas onto people. You can't. Actually, we're not allowed. In Buddhism, in these courses, like, we're strictly told, yeah, don't push your views on people, if they just practice, and then people will smell it on you, just practice all these ideas, people will come to you, they're like, something's different about you, what is it that you do, or why isn't this upsetting you when this happened to you, or people notice something, and if they're interested, they'll ask you, and until people are ready, you can't help them. You can just be there for them, right?
And don't you have to be careful, because then I'm a bit confused, because then isn't it part ego if you really, and then you're back into your own suffering all over again, and then where's the...
You have to really watch your motivation. Why is it that you want to say something in that moment? Is it because you really want to help them, or is it because you want to be seen a certain way, right? We've talked about those 8 worldly thoughts. That's like wanting to be praised, or wanting to be well known, and wanting to be seen as, oh, I'm so smart or so wise or whatever, right? This isn't about that. This isn't about that at all. Because that is true. Then you're creating more suffering again for yourself.
And that's what I like about Tonglen, is that practice kind of does a cleaning first, and internal cleaning. So when I find it just helps clean the energy, or the light, to put the light inside. So when you want to sort of help another being, it's not really, it comes from a different space. It doesn't come from my ego anymore.
Yeah.
It comes from, I don't know what it comes from. I have no idea.
If it's not
what
about
it is.
you, then
Yeah,
it becomes a different flavor of helping, right? More pure. So today, we've gone through renunciation, we've gone through bodhicitta, and now we're doing correct view. And again, this course is kind of like a teaser of what's happening in the rest of the 17 courses, okay? So it's not like we can explain correct view in 2 classes. We cannot. It's going to take years and years and years of study and contemplating and meditation to try to understand. So we are just planting some seeds that we will later unpack. Okay? So this is a bit of a tough class today, partially because we're talking about different schools and different schools of thought on this subject, which can make it a little bit confusing. So I'll do my best to try to bring it in a clear way. So what is correct view? What is correct view? The understanding of emptiness. Yes.
Lack of projections.
So I don't know if Elena's ever heard this before, but how can you explain this to someone who's never heard it before, Hogan? Because if you say that to me and I've never heard it, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So can you explain it in a way that, you know, it's my first time? Yes.
You remember the pen? You know the pen?
The pen of the she read the book How Yoga Works.
About how
Yoga Works, it's perception.
right.
It's all about perception. And if you don't have any perception, you have more of a clean slate, correct? Projection, I think. Projected.
Okay, let Hogan explain the
Yeah.
pen. Let's just pretend we haven't heard it before.
That this is a pen for all of us, but that if a dog came in, they would not see it as a pen. Baby would see it not as a pen. So one way to recognize is that this pen isn't emanating, doesn't have this definition of pen that it's basically our projection of what this pen is. Different people have a different projection of what this is and what people are and everything about them. So one explanation of emptiness I would use is to say that everything we see or does not exist from its own side, that it is our projection.
Beautiful.
Yay,
Hogan, yay, Hogan.
Something that really resonated was projection of emptiness is trying to predict tomorrow.
Sorry?
Is trying to understand tomorrow. The unknown. Tomorrow is unknown. And so it's the projection of emptiness. So we can try and think about tomorrow.
But you know,
It's just
As soon as we tell a child, this is a sparrow, they no longer know a sparrow. They are now in the concept of a sparrow, and they never see the sparrow. It's lost its essence to that child.
yeah,
Trying to
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. That's very deep. Yeah. So
I see
that's
how
what we do. Yeah. So then the next time we see a sparrow, we see a bird, and we label it sparrow because we've been taught by our moms this is a sparrow, right? And we base it on the shape of the object, the color, and then we label it. This is a sparrow, even though we can't even see the whole object. We can't see the bottom or the back. Somehow we label it as a whole thing, even though we can't see the whole thing. We don't even know. I don't even know right now if Hogan has a back. I can't see it. I can't see it. Yet, in my perception, my projection of Hogan is like Hogan is a whole, that's Hogan. Even though I cannot be sure, if you think about it. So we only see parts of an object. We only see it at top, at bottom, and side at once. And somehow our minds can just make it into this whole sparrow. So there's two ways. Okay, let's say young duck pei tawa. That is correct view. Okay. So this refers to emptiness, to the right way that things exist. Meaning, they are just a blank object. It's like data, right? It has shapes, it has colors, it has sounds. But we do sparrow, right? And Georgina's right. If you haven't told the kid this is a sparrow, then it's not being labeled as a sparrow. And still, the child would see something, and they would maybe label it differently. They wouldn't label the bird if they don't know the concept bird yet. They would label this who knows what, right? So that's how we can think of emptiness. Like things are blank. They don't have any self-nature. If they did, everybody would know all the time that is a sparrow. Of course, that's a sparrow. The moment the bird was born, everybody's like, "Oh, there's a sparrow." Everybody would know. Everybody would know as soon as Hogan popped out of the womb. Everybody would know. There's Hogan. Hogan, the yoga teacher. We would all know. If Hogan was self-existent, if he was truly existing. So, does Hogan exist? Yes, he does exist. Absolutely, but he does not exist in the way that he appears to be existing. He appears to be existing to be separate from me. He appears to be existing from his own side. Appears to be existing not dependent on my projections. He appears to be existing out there. Okay? So, two methods for realizing yang dak pewa, for realizing emptiness, is one is understanding it intellectually. Okay, that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to intellectually understand that Hogan isn't Hogan the way he looks to be. If he was, he would have always been Hogan. The moment he came to the world, he would have always been Hogan. His parents didn't have to tell people that this is Hogan. No, of course we know this is Hogan. Everybody would just know. So that's intellectually we can understand it. And then the second way is seeing it directly. And you can see this directly in a deep state of meditation. Okay? It's a big realization, and it's worth all your time and effort in this lifetime to come to that realization. Because it's the key, the door to liberation. It's the key to the door to no longer suffer. Okay? When we understand this concept. So understanding something intellectually and then seeing it directly. Understanding it intellectually is great. It can help us a lot. It helps us a lot already in our actions and our thinking. If I've never eaten, say, lemon gelato ice cream, and Turnjeet comes up to me and describes to me what it tastes like, what this gelato, how creamy it is, how cold it is. I don't know what the flavor is like. I can get a really good sense of intellectually understanding what this most likely would taste like. Okay. But then the moment she buys it for me and I eat it, now I have a whole different understanding of it. Okay, now I really know. Now I know. I was close to understand it intellectually, but I wasn't there all the way, right? So you can get very close and very very wise by just understanding emptiness intellectually.
Does not intellect get in your way of actually feeling it, though?
Yeah, that's a very good
I find
point.
that intellect can often block the experience.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It also can help us, get to a certain place. But you are right. At some point, this intellect has to be dropped in order to have certain realizations. But it can help us.
That's if the opposite intellect can stop. Like, if you're using intellect to help you understand this, it helps. But if you're using intellect as a discernment or as a, what do you call that? Reach it. Devil's advocate, then yeah, it's going to hurt you. So how do you use it?
Yeah, they do really encourage you to play devil's advocate in order to try to come to an understanding. They in this teaching, it's a lot of debating and a lot of ways to try to help you understand. They encourage you to question, and that must be for a reason,
Because that will get you close to it. Any of those seeds of disbelief, they're going to keep you from seeing them.
Yeah. And it's going to be layers of, afflictions you might have to work through, and the ego will show up. Yeah. So say, I didn't write this down, Denpa-ni. Denpa means truth, and ni is two. So Denpa-ni means two truths. And when I say truth, I don't mean like true or false, like that. It's more meant to refer to something like two divisions of reality. And you'll see in a second why calling it truth is actually a misnomer.
Like a universal truth?
No. So the two truths that I'm talking about here, the first one is this one, Kunzuk Denpa. Say Kunzuk Denpa. This means deceptive truth. So what does deceptive mean? Not real. Yeah. So how can deceptive truth exist? Because truth means it is real, right? And deceptive means it's not. So I'm saying false truth. That doesn't make any sense. So it's a misnomer. Okay, it's meant to make you go like, it certainly made me go like that. And then I started to Google like other examples of misnomers, because I didn't know that word. So one of the things that came up was killer whale, which is said to be a misnomer because whales are apparently one of the gentlest sea animals, you know, in the ocean. So killer whales would not be
Oh, they are.
a true.
They're hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah, orcas.
They're hunters.
Oh, that's what it said. Okay, well, whatever. We can come up with something else, like jumbo shrimp, right? Something big, but it's small. Like it doesn't really make sense.
Gentle giant.
Right.
Virtually spotless. Did that come up in Google? It was like how they advertise laundry detergent.
Okay.
Spotless is spotless, but virtually spotless.
Gives them a way out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So misnomer. So it's good. I like this whole term because it makes you think, right? And that's what this is about. Makes us think. So deceptive truth. It doesn't make any sense to call something that because deceptive is false. So truth here is referring to reality. So we have deceptive reality, okay? But we're also calling it deceptive truth. But just so you know, deceptive reality is not true reality. So the second reality, the second truth, let's read that one. So we'll get to that. Okay, so we'll just talk a little bit about deceptive truth. So to understand deceptive reality is really what I was just talking about, the way seeing Hogan, you know, he really looks like he's out there, separate from me. It looks like Hogan is there, independent of my projection. Okay, this is deceptive reality. So things appear to us differently than the way they truly exist. So they seem to be one way, but they actually are another way. So we perceive this to be reality. We perceive this to be true all the time, okay? But it's not. It's not the way it is. So every object we see possesses this false reality.
And that's because everything is, nothing's fixed.
Well, that's true what you're saying, but it looks like things are fixed, right?
Exactly, yes, but they're not.
They're not, which is reality number 2. But reality number 1, yeah, it's stressing that everything we do is based on thinking things work a certain way or things appear a certain way. You know, this person's being mean to me, so they must be a mean person. You know, everything like that.
Is that not personal perception, though?
Sorry?
Personal perception?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. It is. But it doesn't feel like that, though. does it? You know, it feels to me like the way I feel about Taranjeet, it feels like everybody would see her the same way. And it's not true. But it's, yeah, what you're saying. It is my personal experience of Taranjeet is different than yours, you know. It doesn't feel like that though. It feels like, you know, I know Taranjeet. I know what she's like. I know, you know, it feels like that. And
you should feel like I feel.
right. Yeah, you should come to my side because the way I
Right.
see it is correct, right? So that's how
What's
we
happening
operate
down south.
all the time, all the time. And this is how we get in trouble. This is one of the main reasons why we suffer, because of this deceptive reality. Right? So ultimate reality is the second. So that's this one. Dum dum, then dum.
You just sound
Cute.
dumb.
So that is ultimate truth. Okay. So every object in the world has its own emptiness. So emptiness is a negative. It's a lack.
It almost seems like we're born with emptiness. Then we spend our whole lives labeling. And then we have to go back to find the emptiness, doesn't it?
What did you just say? All objects have their own emptiness.
Yeah.
But objects don't exist outside of my perception.
True. True. Within your perception, every object that you see has its own emptiness. Yeah. So
Every object we perceive in the world
Has its own emptiness. Yes.
so everything that we look at has its own emptiness. Okay, and that feels like there's something on top, but it's not. It's a lack. Okay, something that's not there. Computer is not a computer from its own side. Okay, this is just like a shape and shapes and colors, and you know, it can make some sounds, and I label it a computer. Someone else who hasn't seen a computer will not see this as a computer. So it's not a computer from its own side. Okay. So every object is like that. Every object, we are objects too. Okay. So everything and everyone is like that. So why is it that we see what we see? Because of what? Karma based. Karma. I was looking for the word karma. So the reason why I see Taranjeet the way I do is because I'm forced to see her that way. Okay? I cannot help it. I cannot help it. I cannot help that I think Taranjeet is fabulous, you know. I cannot help it. I'm forced to feel it. Yeah? And I'm forced to feel it because of my past actions. Forced to feel it because of my karma. And same with any negative experience I have, okay, of things or people. I can't help feeling what I feel. But the thing to remember is that it doesn't, the feeling doesn't come from Turnjit or from the laptop or from whatever, right? I'm responsible, yet I'm not in control in the moment. So I'm responsible because of my past deeds, forcing me to experience what I experience. And do I not like what I see? I can try to respond differently, to plant different seeds, to shape my future differently. If I like what I see, I can also recognize I like to see Turnjit this way. So let's recognize why I'm seeing her this way. I recognize I see her this way because I'm forced to see her this way. Because of my karma. So I make it a wish. I can send it out. So I wish everybody could see her like this. This is awesome, you know? So then you use it as a path, right? Then you use it. And you're not trapped into thinking that however I see Turnjit or someone negative, like they are the ones that making me feel this way. And that's tricky. I mean, it's easy with Turnjit or, you know, something positive. It's a little bit tougher when someone's really pushing your buttons, you know? What do we want to do? We want to blame them. Because I sure heck don't want to be responsible for this nasty experience, right? But I'm happy to be responsible for seeing Turnjit as beautiful. So, how does that work, you know? So we have to learn to take responsibility for everything we see and then start to act in a different way, right? So, again, positive explanation is deceptive reality. Things seem to exist outside of my mind, okay? Seems to exist. The negative explanation is there's a lack. The object is empty. The object is empty because it's not what I thought how it worked, you know? It does not exist outside of your mind.
So therefore, if this is true, we all have similar karma.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a collective karma. Collective karma to be here all in this room. Yet we all have you know, maybe some of you can't wait to get out of here, you know, when the heck can she stop talking, you know? And other people might think, like, I want to stay here forever, you know? We all have but yes, we do have a collective karma of being here, or being in Vancouver, being, you know, in the rain or whatever, right? Doesn't mean that you experience it the same way. But yes, we do have a similar thing going on. We all live in Canada. We live in a country where there's no war. You know, all these things, yes, collectively. Yes.
Makes it easier to understand. So
Yeah.
basically, you're where you should be.
I think so. Yeah.
But does that mean that the people that are suffering are where they should be?
Well, I guess. Does it mean that that's a nice thing? No. I mean, but we are all suffering. When you suffer, and like I said, we all suffer in so many different ways. But you have planted everything. You have caused. You have put all the causes into place to be where you are right now. So yeah, you are where you should be, because where else could you be? You know? And sometimes it's hard because you don't want to see certain people in so much suffering, right? It's tough. It's tough. Basically, when you see people suffering, that is also your perception, right? So sometimes I think someone's actually that happened to me this week. I thought this girl that came by my house was in tremendous pain. I really saw her like that, and I was so worried. And I contacted someone else to notify them and saying I think she really needs, some support and stuff. And that was my perception. She's in so much pain. It was ridiculous. And then I found out, no, she's totally fine. So this is my perception in that moment. And
But maybe she could have been in an internal pain that you saw that somebody else didn't see.
She told me herself that she's totally fine. I'm just trying to say, like, any pain that you see in your world, you have created also. Okay.
So does it affect our karma not to help the people that are suffering? Because that's a responsibility.
There's so much suffering in the world. You cannot help everybody at this point. You can do what you can do. But the best thing you can do is become a Buddha so you can help them. So you can actually be of service. And that's why we're here, to try to understand, to make sense of this. So yeah, of course you should help as much as you are capable of doing. But on the outside, you cannot fix things. We have to fix things on the inside. We have to fix our minds in order to then view the world differently. And, you can shift, you can change your karma by manipulating it, So say you have a horrible coworker who's giving you the hardest time, you can start to work with that. You can start to apply wisdom to it and think, okay, so why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Okay, it's hard to believe, but I must have, not been nice to other people before, or I cannot experience this right now. Okay, you have to suck it up and get that ego out of the way that thinks it's so great, No, somehow you have created this person. So now we have to use this person as a path. And this is what we can do with everybody, all the suffering beings. Just to give this as an example, this is the person. So what can you do? Okay, we can ignite our compassion. We can think, okay, they must be in pain or they wouldn't be such a pain in the butt. we can work through it like
she
that.
was on my mother.
You can, yeah, absolutely. And then you can, take responsibility knowing that you have created this person, okay? Because not everybody else sees this person this way. Maybe their mother or their husband or their brother thinks they're amazing. Somehow you think, God, So you have to shift this view somehow. And mainly what you do is recognizing that you have created this. It was your karma. And this is like a nuclear bomb that you throw on this situation. Because the old way of thinking is they're outside of me. They're, nasty from their own side. I have nothing to do with it. It's a very different way than thinking, okay, I'm seeing this because I have created it. Because it's my karma. Then things can start shifting very quickly when you start to apply that wisdom. And then you can do other things like making them offerings, to counter any yucky feelings that you have towards them. Give them beautiful things in your mind or in real life, doesn't matter, actually, doesn't matter. And then before you know it, they turn into someone that's quite bearable, And then the next person will show up, and then you work on it like that. And then at some point, it just becomes automatic. You just recognize that it's just a mirror. It's just reflecting me, my past deeds, and they are helping me purify my mind stream. So anybody that you see suffering, you can apply like that. You can apply that wisdom, thinking I can only see them suffering if I have suffering in my mind stream. So then already things can start shifting very quickly, and then you can help them on the outside. Sure, someone who's sick, you bring them food or whatever, but you can all do it mentally too.
And that choice, that exercise of free will, subsequently affects your karma again.
It will all affect your karma. Yeah. So when we inject wisdom in any situation, it's very, very powerful. Yeah. And if you think whatever, just try it. Just try it and see if that works. And plus, it's also a nicer way to live, actually, rather than blame. Because we've been doing that all our lives. It's much more pleasant to not blame everybody and knowing and just not worry about it so much. Okay, this is my karma. Get it. Okay? You don't have to get upset. It's okay. That's just like all the good things. Bad things, good things. It doesn't really matter. It's all just ripening. And they come and they go and they shift and they.
One of the things I remember Mother Teresa saying was when she came to New York and said, the people that she worked with in India, who everyone considered was the poorest of the poor, she said that she saw no poverty there. That the poverty she was seeing was in New York, the poverty of the spirit and the soul. So that's how I can sort of understand that struggle I have with what you're thinking of. I come from Greece, and people think a lot of the poverty in Greece is people must be suffering, and people are actually extremely happy, right? And it's our perception that they're poor because they just have a simple life, right? It is coming from us, right? Maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, but it helped me at some point, and it sort of turned the light a little bit. But what I wanted to ask was what Mary said was, can we then assume that when somebody is in a certain place, that will help them the best to correct their karma? Or do you call it correct karma?
Can you say that again?
Are we put in the right situation to shift our karma? Or what do you call it? Change your karma.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that some people are born in a really crappy situation, is that a good thing, to help them to enlighten?
Yeah.
I've never really thought about that until Mary started.
Yeah. We have to go through what we have to go through, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to ripen all of our crap that we have put there in place ourselves. And so yeah. And the quicker you can do it, the better. And with the more wisdom, the quicker you will burn it off, Is it pleasant? No. I'm not saying that at all, If your outside world might be quite comfortable, there might be a lot of inside yucky stuff that you need to work through, a lot of dark places, Is it fun? No, not at all. Not at all. That needs to be purified, And by understanding some of these teachings, it can really speed up the process a lot. And we can understand that we have to live a moral life. So we don't create more suffering for ourselves. So that's one of the main things, right? When you understand that everything you do will bring a result, then why not do just good things? It just makes sense. Which, when we bring that wisdom to it, it just spiral. I have a lot more to cover, and it's 2 o'clock. I don't know what to do, guys.
Probably the foods.
What do we got?
Logan's kiss. Ah, there's these bodhisattvas.
So maybe, I don't know how everybody feels. We can go for another 15 minutes. Okay. I'll try to, and I can next week cover some more too. Hey, Susan.
Too many questions.
So you can write down any questions that you have or that come up, and then we'll cover them next week. Because I think right now I should just go so we can get through some things, because this is kind of complicated. So what we're talking about is tendril. Say tendril. Tendril means dependent origination. Hogan, are you okay to go for another 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Tendril means dependent origination. So this is a synonym for the first truth, okay? So things are dependently originating, okay? And we have different schools in Buddhism, so we're going to try to unpack what each school thinks dependent origination is.
Origination is deceptive.
Yeah,
truths.
it is. So we have four different schools of ancient India, and the first school is called Abhidharma. I'm just looking for my chart. Okay. So Abhidharma is the first, and this is considered lower school. Okay, Hinayana. Then we have the Sutras, which is a logic school, and mind only. That's the third school.
Mind only
Yeah.
is the third.
Yeah. The fourth we divide in A and B. A is independent school, also named Svatantrika. And B, for B, is implication school, also known as Prasangika, or the consequence school. So 1, 2, and 3 together we are calling the functionalists.
I'm sorry.
1, 2, and 3, so Abhidharma, Sutrist, and Mind Only schools. Together, we call them the functionalist schools. And it takes me years and years to understand all these schools. And I still, still kind of, sort of, I guess it's getting a little bit better than before. But the functionalist school, so those first three, say that everything depends on causes and conditions. They say something functions because it comes from a prior cause and condition. Okay, so that's dependent origination. Deceptive reality for them is things function because it comes from a cause or condition. The emptiness that they say is nothing can exist if it's not caused. Okay, sounds pretty reasonable, and I think we believe this a lot. Okay, this school. But then 4A, the independent people say, well, that's nice, but how about things that are not caused? How about those? Because not everything is caused. In Buddhism, they say everything is caused except for a few things. One of them being emptiness, one of them being empty space, is not caused. So your theory there, functionalist people, is nice, but it's not complete. So these independent people, they say dependent origination for us is things depend on their parts. And this will include the things that are not changing. This will include the things that aren't changing.
Are or not?
It includes the things that are not changing. Because they say space and emptiness do have parts. Parts as in the direction, like going, up and down, are parts. So, emptiness, they say, if there's no parts, there's no object.
Say that again. I thought
If there's no parts, there's no object.
I thought they said emptiness has parts.
Space.
What's that?
Space.
Yes, but I'm saying
Empty space has parts.
the emptiness of things is if there's no parts, there's no object. Dependent origination is things depend on their parts. Their view of emptiness, does that make sense? Their view of emptiness is, okay, something has no parts, can't exist. Then, the highest school, Prasangika, which so happens to be the one that we are in, that we're studying, they say things arise dependent on a label and thought. Which is forced on you.
Things arise dependent on
A label and a thought. So if you cannot label the data, you cannot see the object. So they say that the blank thing is the potential.
It's kind of like a computer architect. floating, and it
Mhm.
means squat.
Yeah.
And then you take that, and it's like, I don't know, an app of some sort,
Yeah.
which you use.
Yeah.
It's kind
Mhm.
of cool.
Yeah.
Blank thing. The blank thing is
Is the potential.
right. That makes sense.
Okay, so you can see someone as suffering, but it's a blank thing, right? So the same thing, if your karma is different, you can see them as a holy being, you know? If your karma shifts. So the functionalists say, without causes or conditions, there is no tree. Okay? A tree needs that seed, needs the sunlight and everything to exist. Independent people say a tree without parts could never exist. Implication School says there could never be a tree without you perceiving it as a tree.
I think I'm gonna need those examples next week.
It's not easy. Now you can see dependent origination directly, okay? And this is something that will happen to you right before you have the direct perception of emptiness. So it is a big deal to talk about this dependent origination. It is a big deal to talk about what we've been talking about this class, you know. I'm forced to see Hogan, Turnjeet, Serena in the way that, you know, they seem like they're independent from me. It seems like they're out there. It really does. So when you see dependent origination directly, this thing happens where you can see yourself throw a label. And you can just have this deep experience where you see how you are making up your world all the time. Okay. So it's a very, very crucial moment in this lifetime, you know, if you do it in this lifetime. And if you can understand that it is you that's creating the world, it will change you forever. If you can, if you truly have that realization, it will start to be very different in the world. So once you have that experience, my advice is that you sit down and go into meditation, because then you're very close to seeing emptiness directly, which you need to be in deep meditation, because you need to be so quiet. The direct perception of emptiness happens from a different realm. It happens from the form realm. Okay, so you cannot just be making your tea and stuff. No, you need to sit down and go into deep meditation, and then you go. So we'll talk more next week about this view, and I hope it wasn't too confusing, and I know I went through that quickly about these schools. But we can talk about next week more about if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's end with our prayers. To the dedication prayer. Sunam